Exactly 1 year ago today, I was diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic melanoma. This was actually a recurrence of stage 3C metastatic melanoma that I was diagnosed with in February of 2018. So yeah, February, not the best month for my body. According to the National Institute of Health, the 1-year survival rate for stage 4 metastatic melanoma is below 50%. According to that same study, the 5-year survival rate for stage 3 metastatic melanoma is below 70%, and this is as recently as 2018. Draw that back over a decade, before let's say 2007, those rates were about 10% and 1% if you extrapolate stage 3 and stage 4 metastatic melanoma out to 10-year survival rates. Basically, in the early 2000s, we still had no way of treating the disease that I've been alive for 6 years with. That's a fancy way of saying that I'm in the process of defying the long-term survival statistics for metastatic melanoma historically and improving them for future patients to see if they happen to unfortunately be diagnosed, which is pretty fucking awesome all around. In fact, I don't want to jinx it too much, but as I sit here in complete radiological remission, I have also defied the short-term prognosis or odds that my oncologist gave me upon diagnosis last year. When we were discussing our treatment options and the tentative plan, he said that we were going to do a combination of dual drug immunotherapy with the drugs Opdivo and Yervoy, and that it would be indefinite. When I said indefinite, I was like, hey, is that the rest of my life? And he said, no, probably not. We're looking at maybe 14 to 18 months of treatment. And so I had kind of written off this last year as a lost one, in fact, extending it into more of this year because 14 to 18 months is just the treatment time he estimated, meaning I would be recovering well into 2025. It turns out that my body had other ideas though, as after just 2 infusions, I developed gastritis, thyroiditis leading to my thyroid subsequently dying, I got autoimmune hepatitis, and we had to pause treatment. However, these huge autoimmune side effects often contribute to better outcomes with the Opdivo and Yervoy dual drug infusion, and after just 75 days, I was declared in radiological remission where I still sit today. Now, this isn't just a brag, because on the one hand, like, hell yeah, go me, I'm stoked, you should be stoked, everyone is stoked. Anyone getting through advanced metastatic melanoma should have some level of celebration because, you know, that's one individual whose situation has turned from grim into hopeful. I'm not out of the woods or anything, but like sitting here right now, 1 year after my diagnosis is pretty incredible. But more importantly, I make these videos and these milestone posts and talk about the relative success that I've had because I want to show people what it looks like to live with advanced cancer at every stage of the process. It just happens to be that I got through it super quickly, which was totally unexpected. In fact, now that I think about it, this is the exact 1 year anniversary of this vlog existing too. The first post I ever made was just hosted on YouTube. It was a video designed for my family and friends to get the most information out of the evolving situation. And then it started to get some traction. I said, hey, wait a second, I think I can contribute something here. I decided to take this specific direction and format of just kind of, you know, live journaling about my experiences as a young adult cancer patient because when I was first diagnosed with stage 3C metastatic melanoma 6 years ago, I kind of wanted something like this. I wanted a human example of what it looked like to be diagnosed with relatively shitty odds and then continue to do well or not and just explain how it felt emotionally, what you had to deal with on a logistical basis, what your life looked like after being diagnosed with cancer. Like 6 years ago, there was probably some of this out here, but I had no idea how to find it. And so I decided that my vlog would be dedicated to like humanizing the cancer conversation and talking about my mental health and then seeing if I could, you know, gain some insight from other people who responded to me. And 1 year later, it's turned out to be pretty damn good. And that goes way past just like the social media numbers element of things, which being perfectly candid with you, you know, that exists. I'm cognizant of that. When I first started this channel and I noticed it getting traction, my kind of stretch goal was to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of 1 year, and we've surpassed that by some multiples on this platform and others. By far the most valuable element of all this, though, has been the feedback loop or the community that we've created by having these conversations. Like, it's one thing for me to sit here and talk into my phone every few days because it's super cathartic. Just this live form of journaling helps me individually a lot. However, when I get feedback from people who have cancer or their friends and family members have cancer and they say, hey, I hadn't thought about it this way, or thank you for the information, it's incredible to hear. Similarly, there are people who are wiser than me about tons of these, if not all of these topics, and getting constructive feedback or hearing about their experience has also helped me incredibly. And unfortunately, part of that help is the realization that even though I've been lucky twice in getting advanced cancer and then entering remission, that may not continue in the future. We are all one scan away from being much, much more at existential risk, which is why cancer is so scary. And that's a huge thing to emphasize too. I've gotten lucky. I've also done a lot to help myself. Like, I've stayed in good shape, I've gotten the best treatment I can from doctors who I trust, and things have gone generally well. But there are people who've done everything right and still passed away from lesser forms of cancer, or still struggle with chronic cancer and having to do treatment every day. There is so much luck involved, and everyone deserves the best outcomes, and that is a future we can definitely hope for, but right now that's not actually the reality. So it keeps me kind of grounded. Not only that, it's not as though being in remission from stage 4 metastatic melanoma is like winning an Oscar or something. You know, I might be lucky to be here, but it has come with significant cost over the last 6 years of dealing with the disease. Like I said, I am hypothyroid now. I have arthritis in both my hips that's probably from long exposure to steroids when I was on hepatitis. I lost 35 pounds last year, meaning, you know, from 180 pounds I was down to 147. I've had to gain that back this year. The mental health element of cancer is insane. It never ends. Like, even in the best case scenario, which would be that I am just monitored for the next 5 years, I'm going to have scans every 3 months, I'm going to have labs every 3 months, I'm going to have a circulating tumor test every 3 months. You know, these are approximations, but the point is every single time I have one of these, it causes me a ton of anxiety. It really, really is crippling to my mental health. In fact, I've had this inflamed lymph node in my shoulder or neck for probably the better part of 4 months. And it seems like it's okay. We've ultrasounded it, we've scanned it. Like, right now, it is not overtly a risk, but my brain can't, you know, fathom that it isn't, because my last recurrence was the result of an inflamed lymph node. You know, add to that the financial destruction that cancer has brought me for the last 6 years, the stress on my friends and my family and my romantic partners, and, you know, the systemic damage it's done to my life. And, like, yeah, this is a fortunate position to sit in, but it's also just the best of a really bad situation. A little ranty and negative here, so, like, I mean, I'm sitting here. That's kind of the entire point of this anniversary. It has been 1 year since I was diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic melanoma, and I'm sitting here telling you about being in remission, even though there are tons of negative side effects. It's a fucking incredible place to be. This is not at all a scripted video. I have not thought about what I'm going to say next, and that's the takeaway. It's incredible to be here. And for those of you who have watched from day one or joined in at any point in time, no matter how often you check in, whether you comment or not, like or not, subscribe or not, whatever, this has been a incredible positive just as a holistic, me being able to ideate and express my emotions and get feedback from people and talk about how, yeah, it feels awesome right now, but at the same time, it's weird. Cancer is just weird. It's so scary. And the fact that I've had, you know, my entire 30s dominated by it, but I'm able to do this with hope, it's a good place to be. I'm kind of losing it, so I'm gonna. That's actually one of the only rules I've imposed on myself in developing this channel and making videos, is that I'm not going to cry on camera. I get to edit this, and it just doesn't seem very natural to, like, force a shot with someone crying, because, like, I knew that was coming. But anyway, not the point. Maybe I'll break that rule next year. That's my goal. I'm going to cry on camera this year. There's plenty of goals that I'm going to get to. I'm still rambling because I'm really worked up. But it's been 1 year since I was diagnosed with stage 4 melanoma, and you guys have been a big part of me having success in it, one way or another. Thank you so much for watching. I've got to stop talking right now, but I'll see you next time. Bye.